Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. I'm here at Linda Vater's beautiful garden in Oklahoma City. There's another video that I will have put up hopefully a week or so ago with a tour, but we're going to cover some tough plants this morning that have really held up in a very tough summer here in Oklahoma City. And she wanted to tell you that she did offer me coffee, and she's not hoarding the coffee this morning.
Yes. No, I did offer the two of you coffee, and it's kind of nippy out, a little bit nippy.
It is. I wore shorts because it was warm when we left where we're staying. Yeah, and now it's not on your hill.
Yes. I've had the cottage on the hill.
Yes,
it's a little breezy. Well, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us here. Something we had planned for a long time.
We have.
Yes, yeah. And we wanted to go through some plants this morning that have really just kind of been industrial for you through a tough winter last year and then through a tough spring, tough summer. Hot conditions.
Yeah, I think especially in Oklahoma where we get just historic highs, it seems like almost every year, we really have to have our go-to tough candidates that we know are going to perform for us, and now increasingly not just for the summer but for the winter as well.
Right, yeah. Where it's diving, and we've seen that from here down into Texas where you just had really wicked lows, on top of. So let's jump in. Tell me something that's held up really well.
Can I maybe start with a category?
Yeah, perfect.
A category plant. Like I think one of the most underused categories of plants are the abelias.
Yeah.
Because they are just troopers for me. The pollinators love them. Once they're established, they can be pretty drought resistant. They can work in partial sun, partial shade, and they have just really done so much for me, and there are subtle differences between them, and some can handle a little more sun. So let me start out with what is one of my absolute favorites. This happens to be Miss Lemon Abelia. It's from Southern Living Plants. I just love the delicacy of it.
Me too.
And pretty much for me, I've mentioned this before, anything that I plant not only has to look good in the garden, but I have to be able to cut from it for the vase.
Right.
And so I just think the delicate flowers on it are so beautiful. I get them in both spring and fall. I know you love variegated foliage.
I do. Lots of it. kind of almost too much of it, but yes. Yeah, I do. And we have one of these. It's now 3 years, and it's here. By here, something like that.
Yeah,
and
it's going to be, it's not going to probably, it was certainly not so quickly, and it's maybe not going to get so large here because we just don't get the moisture that you do in North Carolina. But I absolutely love it. But that said, this is probably one of my favorites, but I love Kaleidoscope, I love Radiance, I love Canyon Creek.
Yes.
Have you grown?
Love
Canyon Creek.
Canyon Creek's a great a gold one, and so all the dwarfs, that we've seen, but then the old-fashioned, larger growing Abelia that I think are kind of underused as well. But all of these can be just kind of reset too. Beauty of that plant is at some point, if you ever needed to, you can cut it to the ground.
Yes, and it'll come back.
Yes.
And I think that's, I saw when I was in your neck of the woods in North Carolina, I saw a magnificent, as one of the old varieties, an Abelia hedge.
Yeah.
And I think for the old varieties, you kind of need to know how to wrangle them and what to do with them. But it was absolutely stunning. Well, if there is any one plant I could not do without, it would be boxwood. I just find it eminently useful because one of my kind of signature touches is I like things that are tightly clipped. And I like the way it plays against really beautiful, colorful foliage, whether that's from blooming shrubs or annuals or perennials. I really like the way, from a design perspective, it kind of gives visual weight to a landscape, and for me that's important, particularly in a new garden because so many of the things are deciduous and I really want winter interest. I love the way it can be clipped into just different forms. Obviously I like the rounded, mounded shapes. I love conical forms. I love it in topiary, and I just think it's a beautiful foil for all the beautiful color, this seasonal color to play. So I would say that that's probably one of my absolute must-have categories, and there are good varieties here in Oklahoma. And Jim would have to tell me, what really does well there. But in Oklahoma, Green Mountain, Baby Gem, Wintergreen, And now, obviously, we're waiting for the better boxwoods to become available. Those all do well here. And knock on wood, we haven't really had much boxwood blight or things like that here. So they're drought resistant, drought tolerant. They can handle really strong sun, and they can handle some shade. So what's not to love about boxwood?
Okay, so tell us about your viburnum here.
Okay, so another category that I think is so underused, and that's just in general viburnums, because boy, are they tough
Yeah, they
here.
are. Yeah, lots and lots of them.
And this is one of my favorite plants ever. From my other house, I had one that was probably 20 feet tall that I had pruned into a small tree. In the spring, you just couldn't see any foliage because it was just completely covered in white snowballs. And I think it's just beautiful. It's an old-fashioned plant. This one will get very, very tall, and I hope will kind of cascade over the sidewalk over time. But you know, there are some smaller varieties too that you just
there's tons of
great.
Everybody watching has viburnum they can grow, and then we have them over in Raleigh where they're a little more, where they're not as cold tolerant. Some evergreen ones, and then. But everybody's got viburnum they can grow.
Right.
For fall color, for flowers, for everything.
Yeah. There's a couple of varieties, All That Glitter and All That Glows, that are just beautiful. And they put out the blueberries in the wintertime, and the foliage is just, it's just sparkles. Literally, it just sparkles. What are some of your other favorites?
We have viburnum plicatum. We have, what else? What's the... David Eye, which you can't grow here, which is an evergreen one. It's got a really beautiful, really beautiful foliage on it that we have behind. And then there's viburnum nudum, which is one of our native viburnums, which you could grow here. It's a really nice upright. When you have nudum is perfect for a space like you have because it's upright and narrow. Yeah. And it flowers beautifully. Birds love it. And there's a caterpillar that overwinters on it. What's that? Oh, and then we have sugar cookie viburnum, which is in the Southern Living Plant Collection. We have a lot of viburnum. Viburnum macrocephalum is a no-brainer for, you can tree form this thing, you can keep it as a shrub, you get the giant white flowers. Do you typically get fall repeat bloom? I see it wanted to.
Yes, and this definitely, especially after it's been established. Now this one's only been in the ground.
Right, so it's going to be reliably spring flowering, and then more reliably fall flowering as time goes on.
And the other thing that I like about it, and we are in kind of the Southwest, and anything that's got that kind of bluish gray foliage, if you're wanting to go in a direction that looks a little bit more Mediterranean or kind of in that color palette, I think it's really just really invaluable for that. So that's my next category of what I think are really underused plants.
Tell us what's next.
Oh my goodness. Let's show Encore Azalea some love, shall we?
Yes, but and especially here in mid to late October.
Yes, mid to late October, they're still spitting out some blooms, but what is so impressive to me, Jim, is these are the first season. These were just planted maybe in April. Wow. And the fact that they have put out, in my climate, that they have put out this much new growth, this is carnation. I think
Carnation's always been one of my favorites.
It's just incredible, and I love the way it's kind of glossy, narrow leaves. Again, I look at everything through a design lens. I love the way its leaves look. This is Moondance hydrangea behind it, and it just looks spectacular. But it's another thing, you and I were talking about ground covers, and one of the things here in Oklahoma that we like to do is use shrubs as ground covers, because sometimes it's even difficult for us to get common, low-growing ground covers to get established. So shrubs as ground covers are often a great solution, and Encore Azaleas in particular are not only that, but they're just gorgeous.
Yeah, and these look absolutely fantastic. This is the east side of your house?
Yes, and I think this is the optimal exposure for them, because they get afternoon shade, east sun, but of course they can tolerate,
they can tolerate more sun than this, but I think in your Oklahoma climate, this is perfect, because also in the winter it's going to offer them some protection. Yes. Give them a little bit of half a zone probably added by being up here. Right.
And I think that, like you say, they're a little bit protected, but I just love that even without any flowers, the foliage itself is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, I sound like a broken record. I have done lots of flower arrangements with them. They just look beautiful as a cut flower. And I think the hardest part is deciding which one you want to grow.
Yeah, there's 34 now.
Oh, there's 34. I
34.
stopped at 30. So wow.
Okay, yes. Yeah. We tried to put them all in one video, and we went to a bunch of different nurseries, and we were missing one at the end, and I was so...
yeah.
Oh, the one, where's this one? You know, it was Autumn Fire of all ones that was like
an
most,
accountant
really
that can't
super
find that last penny.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. But yeah, no, these look terrific.
So what are your favorite colors and varieties?
Carnation has always been at the top of my list, but I do like Autumn Fire. I like Autumn Lily. Which white one do you have back here? Do you remember?
Actually, this is Moonlight.
That's Moonlight. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, if you are in the red zone, if you really like to play with the the primary colors in your crayon box, I think Bonfire, those are just the reds are incredible. And the other thing that I like about them is that if you're somebody that just doesn't want to plant flat after flat of annual color, this is your solution in the spring and the fall.
And you get 2 seasons of flowers.
Yep.
So tell us about number 5.
Number 5. Okay, this is new to me. This is the first time that I have tried butterfly candy.
Yes.
And I just think I just think it is such a stalwart performer because it has been doing this. As soon as it got warm enough for them to put on foliage and begin to bloom, it has been doing this nonstop.
Yeah.
And look at how profuse the bloom is, and it's October. So they just keep pumping out blooms. This is little lavender, and I've got some little grape in here that you can see.
Yes.
I've cut back and is putting
flushing back out, trying to bloom again here at the end of October.
And boy, and if you deadhead them, they'll really show you some love.
Yeah, and you have Little Coconut, you have the white one, and then I told you, Little Raspberry is one you have to have next year because it's a little more vigorous. It's a little more vigorous, but yeah, these have just been, we have these planted as well, and they're blooming. I mean, really do nothing to them. Plant them, and you see how compact they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the thing to me is that other dwarf ones I've had, it's just all of a sudden, why isn't it dwarf anymore? Because we have a longer growing season.
Right.
So sometimes something gets listed as it'll get this height, but then you add an extra month of spring and an extra month of fall, and all of a sudden it's this big.
But they take so well to just whacking them off.
You could do that regardless, but this you don't have to do it at all. It's just
you don't have to.
This is how it's grown.
And the other thing I love about them that you probably do too is they look spectacular with our chartreuse foliage plants.
Yeah, right.
So
they have no choice in my garden. Yeah, right. They have no choice.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
But I love tone on tone planting, so they look great with any other shades of lavender. So another really tough plant for me is any of the salvias. So they look beautiful with the purple blooming May Night or East Friesland or any of the salvias. And again, they just look great like with Sunshine Ligustrum and really any other kind of yellow foliage plants that you want to grow them with. But they're tough, man. They just sailed through the summer. More deadheading.
Right, yeah,
but they just sailed through the summer.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you so much for having us here.
It has been my joy. It's been my joy.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys.